Last week you may have seen our video on introducing the fundamentals behind any training program. It's well worth checking this out if you haven't already seen it, as this is the basis to any good training program. This week, the focus is on pushing yourself harder than you have done before, introducing some new training sessions that I believe are important to your training schedule, and maintaining your off-the-bike focus. Let's go! Now, whilst we could just jump straight into the training program, if you've got the time and the opportunity to do so, I think it would be a really good idea to test our fitness first. What you ideally need for this is a climb of around 12 to 20 minutes. If you haven't got one of these, then maybe 2 8-minute efforts on the flat that you can measure accurately, record your time, your distance. Basically, you want to get as much information as possible to build up a base starting point. And from there, over the course of the 4 weeks, we can test ourselves again, or just at the end to see if we've actually made the improvements that we hope to see. Now, a 12 to 20 minute climb should be ridden flat out, basically. You want to pace yourself so that you blow right at the end, but it's not going to be pretty either way. So start hard and hold on as long as you can. Each week, there are some key sessions that we feel you should include in your training to help really take your cycling up another level. Now, cycling performance is predominantly dictated by an individual's ability to perform an exercise aerobically. So, with that in mind, the focus will be on improving this energy system. Some long efforts, some short intense efforts, but we'll detail each week how long they should be, what intensity you should ride, and how many of them to include. Now, before you start any training session, there's one thing to remember. You need to warm up progressively for around 10 to 15 minutes. And the same at the end of the session. You need to wind down, maybe a little bit less than 15 minutes. 10 minutes is enough at the end. This will help your body recover faster, but at the start it will help prepare you for a hard training session. So the first of the sessions is the endurance session. This is kind of the backbone of the cycling week. These sessions last from 60 to 300 minutes, so it's a lot of contact time on the bike. They're also quite social sessions, so perhaps ideal for the weekends out with your mates. Your typical endurance session should be at an intensity that starts to get uncomfortable towards the end, but for much of the ride, you can hold a good conversation and kind of enjoy the scenery as well. These endurance sessions are great for improving your efficiency on the bike. How little fuel or how much fuel you'll need will largely be dictated by your fitness, but the more you do, you'll find the more efficient you become. The next session to focus on are your sustainable efforts. You can include these on sessions from 75 minutes right up to 4 hours. And generally I'd advise intervals of around 12 to 15 minutes, maybe up to 20. You want to include 2 to 3 repetitions, depending on the intensity you're riding at. Now these are pretty painful. They're kind of the same intensity that you had in your test, maybe a little bit less. For these efforts, you really want to total 30 to 40 minutes of continuous suffering, basically. It'd be quite rare to get to the end of an intensive session like this without some drop-off in performance. That's when you know you're doing it right. When you get to the last few minutes and you're really grinding away and it's hurting. Next up are your VO2 efforts. These are around 4 minutes in duration, but you could squeeze them out to 7 if you're really feeling up to the task. These are repeated 3 to 5 times. And if you get to effort number 4 and you don't feel a drop off in performance, I don't think you've gone hard enough. You want to include at least one of these sessions each week, and it wants to be around 90 minutes in duration. So it's a short but sharp session. And if you get to the end of it, you'll certainly know you've done it. The important thing to remember with this session is the workload matches the recovery load. So 7 minutes on, 7 minutes off. 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off. You really want to total around 30 minutes total of intervals for this workout. Right, this is the worst one for me. Anaerobic buffering efforts. I would start by doing 30-second maximum sprints but only once every 10 minutes. As you progress through the series, you can increase, or rather decrease, the recovery down to 2.5 minutes. And these are absolutely brutal. But you'll see really quick fitness gains, and you can't deny everyone likes a quick fitness gain. So, here we go, 30 seconds. Right, that was great. And this is by far the worst session. I wouldn't include this one more than once every 10 days. I'd like to thank the former coach for introducing me to the horrific pain that is this training session. The important thing to remember with this session is only 6 reps, but I promise 6 times 30 seconds really adds up after one really. So we've talked you through most of your training week now. You've got your intense intervals, the longer intervals, the endurance ride, but there's one important day that I haven't yet told you about, and that's the rest and recovery day. Time to put your feet up. There's no point training harder and harder, day on day, without recovering. Your body just won't cope. You'll run yourself down and you won't improve. So 1 to 2 days a week should be put aside for rest and recovery. Now that you know what sessions to include into your training week, we need to work out how to structure the week. As a general rule, I would include 1 to 2 endurance rides spread evenly throughout the week. Ideally, Saturday, Sunday, and 1 in the middle of the week, if possible. As a guideline, I wouldn't do more than 3 days on before including 1 rest day or recovery day. These are the days that your body will adapt to the training that you've put it through. Without rest and recovery, we won't get fitter, we'll just become more tired and worn down. And nobody wants to feel tired and worn down on the bike. Don't be scared to include your interval sessions the day before an endurance ride. You're only likely to feel better on the endurance ride for having done some intensity the day before. Conversely, don't be scared to do the intervals the day after an endurance session. You'll feel tired and a little bit leggy, but you'll still get a really good quality workout by pushing through the pain. And once again, don't forget, day 4 should be set aside as a day of rest and recovery. 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, another day off. One final thing to remember with all of this training is to keep track of what you're doing. Record it in an online diary, on a notepad, in your phone. You'll have a computer perhaps on your bike that you can use to download the data, upload it onto the internet. Whatever you do, keep track of it. Keep track of how you felt, how fast you went, how far you went, how long you were gone for, energy levels, motivation. All of this information is really key to helping you throughout the program. So there you have a few key sessions to really get stuck into over the next coming week. Don't be afraid to change which day you do which intervals on. The only thing I would warn against is changing the quantity of which type of intervals you're doing each week. Be sure to include the key sessions throughout the week, evenly spaced, and you'll be well on track to improving your cycling.